By the end of this video, you will understand why Monsanto is still operating today, despite knowingly selling a carcinogenic product that has been linked to thousands of cancer cases, generating billions of dollars in revenue. But first, let's start with the shocking fact that Monsanto's Roundup weed killer contains glyphosate, a chemical that was classified as probably carcinogenic to humans by the World Health Organization in 2015. But what's even more alarming is that Monsanto knew about the potential health risks associated with glyphosate for decades before that. Roundup weed killer was first introduced by Monsanto in the 1970s, and it quickly became one of the most widely used herbicides in the world. But what the public didn't know was that the active ingredient in Roundup, glyphosate, had been linked to cancer in animal studies as early as the 1980s. But Monsanto continued to market Roundup as safe and effective. Therefore, the company was able to generate billions of dollars in revenue from the sale of the product. But internal documents reveal that Monsanto executives knew about the potential carcinogenic effects of glyphosate as early as 1981, when a study found that glyphosate caused tumors in mice. Therefore, the company had a responsibility to warn the public about the potential health risks associated with Roundup. But instead, they chose to keep this information secret. But what's even more shocking is that in 1999, an internal Monsanto email discussed the company's efforts to discredit studies linking glyphosate to cancer. And in 2000, a Monsanto memo revealed that the company had been aware of the potential health risks associated with glyphosate for several years. But the most shocking revelation is that Monsanto hired scientists to discredit studies linking glyphosate to cancer, including a 2015 study published in the International Journal of Cancer. Therefore, the company was able to create a false narrative about the safety of Roundup. But what's even more alarming is that Monsanto also lobbied regulators, including the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, to downplay the risks associated with glyphosate. And in 2016, it was revealed that Monsanto had ghostwritten articles and studies to promote the safety of glyphosate. But one internal document in particular stands out: a 2015 email in which a Monsanto executive discusses the company's plan to discredit a study that found a link between glyphosate and cancer. This is the kind of evidence that reveals the shocking extent of Monsanto's cover-up. But the human cost of Monsanto's actions is devastating. Therefore, thousands of people have been diagnosed with cancer after using Roundup, and many of them have filed lawsuits against the company. But the most tragic cases are those of people who have lost their lives to cancer, leaving behind families and loved ones to pick up the pieces. But one case in particular stands out: that of a man who was awarded $289 million in damages in 2018 after a California jury found that Roundup had caused his cancer. But the tide began to turn against Monsanto in 2015, when the International Agency for Research on Cancer, a division of the World Health Organization, classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans. Therefore, the company's cover-up was finally exposed, and the public began to demand justice. But what's even more significant is that a whistleblower, a former EPA scientist, came forward to reveal that the agency had colluded with Monsanto to downplay the risks associated with glyphosate. This revelation sparked a wave of outrage and calls for greater transparency and accountability. But in 2018, a California jury awarded $289 million in damages to a man who claimed that Roundup had caused his cancer. And in 2020, Bayer, which acquired Monsanto in 2018, agreed to pay $10.9 billion to settle thousands of lawsuits related to Roundup. Therefore, it seems that justice has finally been served. But despite the settlements, Monsanto and Bayer have continued to profit from the sale of Roundup. But the most shocking fact is that Monsanto knew about the potential health risks associated with glyphosate for 33 years before the WHO classified it as probably carcinogenic to humans in 2015. The fact that Monsanto continued to sell Roundup for decades, despite internal knowledge of its potential health risks, is a devastating indictment of the company's priorities, and the fact that they were able to get away with it for so long is a testament to the power of corporate greed and the failure of regulatory agencies to protect the public. Therefore, the legacy of Monsanto's actions will be felt for generations to come. But the most devastating fact of all is that Monsanto knew for 33 years that their product could cause cancer, and they still chose to sell it, resulting in thousands of deaths and countless suffering. And that's the shocking truth about Monsanto's Roundup weed killer.